New day, new project. So in this one, I'm taking over for a contractor, as usual. I mean, that's my specialty. So they did the drywall. I can't really do it justice with the camera, but I gotta finish the drywall as far as sanding down spots and adding a little mud and here and there. But it's kind of rough all over the place, and they didn't finish some areas. But it's not. I've seen much worse. All right. So that's my plan here, is to get this drywall straight, get the room primed and painted, and also got another room upstairs I'll be showing you in a second. But one thing is, the ceiling is it's almost 12 foot high at the top. So the best way for me to do it is put that scaffold together, man, and just, so I'm gonna have to use this a lot. Even though, first things first, anytime you're gonna paint a ceiling, you have to cover the whole floor, because I don't care what kind of paint, you can use the best paint ever, you're gonna have little splatter spots. If you don't, and you got wood or something like that, it's gonna be a problem. So this is what I do. I gotta get up here. I got my little sander. I got a couple sanders with me. It's gonna help me smooth out some spots in certain locations. And I'm gonna show you a little detail about the sander that I'm using in a little bit. But here's the room upstairs. So it's the same thing. The actual homeowners, contractors didn't do anything in here. Just actual homeowners, they went around, started spackling different spots and doing things. And a lot of times they'll use, like, see these spots right here where they use all-purpose joint compound, or something that gets really solid and it's hard for them to sand it and get it smooth. Well, that's when they called me. Got a couple spots where things have been gouged out. You see these spots on the ceiling where paint didn't came off, because obviously nobody primed it originally back in the day. So they calling me to fix it. See over here where they used to have one of them access panels. I'll show you a little later what it used to look like, but they had one of those access panels there to reach the plumbing shutoff. And yeah. Now I know the audio on this is probably terrible because I don't have no microphone. It's just a mic coming from the camera. But just wanted to say, when I'm sanding down, you see this room got a lot of little spots I gotta sand. If I gotta come in and somebody use all purpose, I come in with a power sander, but I don't need the gigantic sander. I use this little one. You know what I mean? So it's just a little handheld vacuum sander. Still got my same, Centec hose hooked up to it. And like I said, fits like a glove. And it just works perfect, man, for the little spots where I don't need the big long wand. I just need a little this. And no, I'm not getting paid by them, but I'll take a check though. This is made for dust control, right? It has the little fur, the little brush edges that help keep the dust in. And with these gigantic holes, man, it helps get most of the dust. I'd never say all, because that's impossible. But yeah, so boom. So this is the access panel, and it used to look like this. So, I had to trim around it, with the little piece of panel in the front. So I took all that off, and now I use the sander because it makes it real easy to smooth it out. So, because it's always raised up from caulk around it and years of painting. So smooth it out with that sander. Then I like to prime it, just because, if I'm going to put some mud on it, I just want to be 100% certain everything's going to stick, especially if I'm just using hot mud. So that's my plan. I'm going to get in here and, I sand down all the spots, using my little sander, and, like I said, run through it pretty quick, man. And you can see right now, there's not really any dust. Now, what I have experienced with this thing, and like I said, I'm not getting paid for it, but I just, like, things that I like to use, I just like to tell people about. This sander, you do get some static shock from this thing, right? So they say that you can, wrap some ground wire around the hose or something like that, or whatever. I mean, look, it ain't that serious as far as I'm concerned. Like, a little bit of shock, I don't really care. I mean, I'm willing to take that. You know what I mean? Now, this wasn't even part of the job, man. This is when, I just try to do things just to help out. The access panel cover, they didn't ask me to paint it, but I mean, it would look a lot more seamless, and I know it would look a lot better for the customer. I'm priming anyway. I'm gonna paint the whole thing anyway. So for me, I want the best look when I'm done, right? that's partly what it's about. So the best look I'm gonna get is if I prime this thing and paint it, and when I put it, it just blends into the wall. So that's what I'm going for. And it's about that customer service, man. So I always use these, some people call them hot dog rollers. I said it before, because they're very easy to roll on the ceiling, and you can get those corners very easy without having to get up there with a paintbrush and go all the way around the room with all that. Now I can just reach all the corners from the floor. Now when you roll them though, you're gonna have to roll, because it's gonna leave a little line. So that's why I roll it in the corner, and then I come back and like kind of smear the line so that there's no defined line from these, because it will, if you leave the line there, it will show up when you paint over it, and you won't be able to get it off. Like you'll have to scrape it off, like it's be a mess. So don't do that. You know what I mean? But look, my question of the day, you see this guy on the screen right now. My question, and it more so goes to some of the youngsters. I'd say people in their, your 20s and your 30s out here, you're thinking about doing something, but you don't know what you want to do. It's like, I got a question for you. How on earth are you letting this dude right here outwork you? You know what I'm saying? How is that possible? This guy right here, man. 300 pounds, you know what I'm saying? Like in mid 40s, and he's getting it in. There's no way. Like, what excuse do you have? Don't be getting in the comments and trying to, turn 2024 into the year of missing the point, and then start trying, turn it into a referendum on me and my size. I know who I am, and I know what size I am, right? All that is obvious. It's on the screen every time I take a video, right? And I'll address that later, right? But that's not for here now. The question right now is, how is this guy outworking you? And I'll tell you straight up, it ain't got nothing to do with your size, man. It ain't got nothing to do with none of that. It has everything to do with your work ethic, your heart, your determination. Like, that's it. The old saying, they talk about, they used to talk about football and who wins and who loses, and they always come back by who wants it more. Well, that's what it is. It's definitely not about who's the fastest and who's the strongest and all that. Like, there's so many people I keep seeing out here that's worried about how fast something goes and how fast and the speed. And look, as great as it is to be the super fastest guy, like, there's no way to prove who's the fastest. None of that stuff matters. Like, what it's about is who's willing to do what it takes to get the work done. And that's what I'm willing to stay all night if I have to. You know what I mean? If I have a deadline, I'll stay all night. When I make money, I sink the money back into the tools, because I know that even if I'm not making it right then, it's going to make me more efficient in the long run. So when I'm doing a paint job like this, and I got a 12-foot ceiling, I see guys in there trying to go up and down a ladder 5 million times. But let me say something. If I didn't have the scaffold, I'd be up and down the ladder 5 million times, right? One of the best things that ever happened to me was I started in construction as an insulator. I don't know how many people we've had out here, or how many people that are listening that were insulators in the past. And by the way, right now, when I do ceilings, and I'm just priming it right now, this is not paint. I always like to use, if I can use an 18-inch roller, and like I said, I can stand on the ground. That's just really the most efficient way to get this thing done. But anyway, when I was an insulator, one of the things that, the biggest thing about that job was it was based off of speed and or efficiency. Speed or efficiency. I worked with all different types of guys some were super fast, and some were just efficient with their cuts, efficient in how they staged the area. But, the name of the game was you had to produce, because we were all piece rate. And I don't know, guys that out here that done piece rate work, but, when you're getting paid by that square foot, you got to get it. Now, it's not sustainable. It's not something you can do for 30 years. And that's why, even when I'm doing this now, it's not about the fastest, because the fastest dude is going to break down eventually. You're just going to break down. It's who has the heart, who's going to work as long as they need to get the job done. Not just get the job done, but get it done the right way. Get it done where, look, I'm not gonna say everything has to be a 100% flawless, but man, you got to get it as close to that as you can. Like, who's willing to do that? Who's willing to put in that time? I know I am. I can't vouch for everybody. I know there are a lot of guys that are out there that are like that. But what I need is some of the younger guys to understand that that's what it is. If you want to get out here in this kind of career field, I don't care what trade it is. By the way, let me cut off to this. Those are those spots in the ceiling upstairs. I don't know if you remember earlier, the mud was taking a long time to dry, and it's hot mud. You know, I had a fan on it and everything, but the house is kind of cold, so you know, I'm just kind of working with it. But to cover up those areas, I primed the ceiling first. Then I put a thin layer of hot mud over that. And I think this one ended up being like 2 real thin layers of hot mud. And I'm just trying to let it dry. But it'll allow me time to go ahead and prime the walls and get everything else taken care of. So, but just like here it is now. All the walls are primer now. Everything's ready to go. Y'all see my little repair area right here where I had to fix the access hole? Nice and smooth, man. Nice flat surface, all sanded and primed and ready to be painted. And as I pan around the room, you see that all those little spots where I had to use the sander for, they're all perfectly flat and smooth. And once I get that paint on the walls, you'll never know they were there. So let's get to painting. All right, I'm gonna show you a little, try to get up close a little bit to how I cut in ceilings. What I do is I take a paintbrush, you know, something stiff, nice stiff paintbrush, and get a lot of paint on the wall, and then you just ride that line, but you don't want to go too slow with it. If you go too slow, it's just, I don't know, it just seems to be harder to keep your hand steady and everything if you go too slow, right? So that's what I'm doing. I'm getting a lot of paint on that wall. I don't want it to be thin. You don't want to have to do it twice. Or be one of these houses you walk in, you see, and you like the layer up top is just real thin. No, you want to get a lot of paint in, and you're kind of pushing the paint up into that section. And then when you're done, you could go with a roller, or you don't necessarily have to, but you want to kind of thin the line up. But see how it's not slow. You don't have to move real slow, but you just, move at a good pace, man, and perfect lines every time. So yes, being an insulator taught me that basically in order to eat, you got to get it sometimes. Every day ain't going to be a picnic, and it's not going to be laid back. Some days you just got to go after it and get it. It don't matter how you feel. Nobody cares about your feelings or if you slept well the night before. None of that stuff matters. Now, one thing I'm not saying, and I do hear people say that, I'm not saying that you're lazy though. I think a lot of people are doing what they've been taught to do. You know what I mean? And when you grow up in a generation where you're not taught the, physical labor, and a lot of people aren't doing that, then it's just not part of what you think you're doing, right? You don't understand how hard the work is. When you don't grow up doing that type of work, it's just not part of your system. That's why I said the insulation was the greatest thing that happened, because I was working at a bank in customer service, and then went from that to it being an insulator, and I thought I was gonna die. But pushing through, it just taught me that great lesson, man, that sometimes you have to go after it. And like I said, I don't think you're lazy. How can you be lazy? Okay, there's some of y'all that are lazy. I mean, let's just be real. But how can you be lazy? How can all of y'all be lazy when, I was working with some of y'all, you're at the plant working 10, 12 hours straight, or at the warehouse working 10, 12 hours straight, and then you're sleeping a little bit, and then you're going to drive Uber, or you're going to, do DoorDash and things of that nature. That ain't lazy. You doing what you got to do, the using the skills that you have and what's presented in front of you. And I get it. But what I want to show you with my videos, one of the big major takeaways I want you to see is that you see this, like I said, you see this overweight 40-something-year-old dude, man, out here getting it. There ain't no reason that you can't. None. No excuses. Dead 'em. I got a whole family. I got the whole package. Dead all that. Right? I didn't even start this business. I was almost 40 when I started. So my point is, you should be working circles around me, not the other way around. Trust me. When I was 20, 25, when I started insulating, I would have destroyed the current version of me, right? The way I'm doing this, at this point, it's all heart. It's all heart, man, just because I just love it. I just love it. We'll talk about the weight thing later on my end, but that ain't for this discussion today, all right? So this room was about done. Like I said, I'm just doing the finishing touches, and I mean, I didn't get a pan around shot of the room because I was, at this point, I was ready to get out of here, and I just slipped my mind. But yep, this room is about done, and then I'm gonna show you the room upstairs and how that came out. Quick little interlude. I always forget to say what I'm using in the video as far as materials sometimes, and in this video, the paint brushes I was using. My favorite paint brushes right now, the Wooster, they're the these right here. They're like I think they're the special edition Captain Planet hair paint brushes. I think that's what they're called or something like that. No, okay, they're not Captain Planet hair. But I mean, they're actually grip tight. I think they're called grip tight. But they're wonderful, man. But tell me this don't look like Captain Planet hair. Come on. All right, there's the room. Looks like a totally different room. All those little drywall repairs and ceiling repairs, all looks like they never were a thing. All right, got my access panel in there, and you know, you look closely at it, it's just, like I said, looks like it's always been there, and you paint it, even though it wasn't part of the job. They didn't ask me to do it, but it looks much better painted, right? So there it is, and there you have it. Daryl, also known as the finisher. Stay safe and be blessed, and remember, if the trades don't work, nothing else does. And by the way, to all the XJ900s who say I don't know how to do drywall repair, hush.